be said to delight in anything is in exposing others. It doesn't much matter what they're exposed as, so long as they're exposed. It distracts attention from himself. Exposing others as enemy agents, communists and socialists, is one of his favorite pastimes, as it removes the source of the threat to him not only from himself, but from the country and the Western world. The bugs up his ass aren't in him, they're in Russia. Distrust, unable to empathize or feel affection or loyalty, being exclusively out for himself, the male has no sense of fair play, cowardly, needing constantly to pander to the female to win her approval, that he is helpless without, always on edge lest his animalism, his maleness be discovered, always needing to cover up, he must lie constantly, being empty, he has no honor or integrity, he doesn't know what those words mean. The male, in short, is treacherous, and the only appropriate attitude in a male society is cynicism and distrust. Ugliness, being totally sexual, incapable of cerebral or aesthetic responses, totally materialistic and greedy, the male, besides inflicting on the world great art, has decorated his unlandscaped cities with ugly buildings, both inside and out, ugly decors, billboards, highways, cars, garbage trucks and, most notably, his own putrid self. Hate and violence, the male is eaten up with tension, with frustration at not being female, at not being capable of ever achieving satisfaction or pleasure of any kind, eaten up with hate, not rational hate that is directed against those who abuse or insult you, but irrational, indiscriminate hate. Hatred, at bottom, of his own worthless self. Violence serves as an outlet for his hate and, in addition, the male being capable only of sexual responses and needing very strong stimuli to stimulate his half-dead self provides him with little sexual thrill. Disease and death, all diseases are curable, and the aging process and death are due to disease. It is possible, therefore, never to age and to live forever. In fact, the problems of aging and death could be solved within a few years, if an all-out, massive scientific assault were made on the problem. This, however, will not occur within the male establishment, because 1. The many male scientists who shy away from biological research, terrified of the discovery that males are females, and show marked preference for virile, manly war and death programs. 2. That discouragement of many potential scientists from scientific careers by the rigidity, boringness, expensiveness, time-consumingness and unfair exclusivity of our higher educational system. 3. Propaganda disseminated by insecure male professionals, who jealously guard their positions, so that only a highly select few can comprehend abstract scientific concepts. 4. Widespread lack of self-confidence brought about by the father system that discourages many talented girls from becoming scientists. 5. Lack of automation. There now exists a wealth of data which, if sorted out and correlated, would reveal the cure for cancer and several other diseases and possibly the key to life itself. But the data is so massive it requires high-speed computers to correlate it all. The institution of computers will be delayed interminably under the male control system, since the male has a horror of being replaced by machines. 6. The money system's insatiable need for new products. Most of the few scientists around who aren't working on death programs are tied up doing research for corporations. 7. The male likes death, it excites him sexually and, already dead inside, he wants to die. Incapable of a positive state of happiness, which is the only thing that can justify one's existence, the male is, at best, relaxed, comfortable, neutral, and this condition is extremely short-lived, as boredom, a negative state, soon sets in. He is, therefore, doomed to an existence of suffering relieved only by occasional, fleeting stretches of restfulness, which state he can achieve only at the expense of some female. The male is, by his very nature, a leech, an emotional parasite and, therefore, not ethically entitled to live, as no one has the right to live at someone else's expense. Just as humans have a prior right to existence over dogs by virtue of being more highly evolved and having a superior consciousness, so women have a prior right to existence over men. The elimination of any male is, therefore, a righteous and good act, an act highly beneficial to women as well as an act of mercy. However, this moral issue will eventually be rendered academic by the fact that the male is gradually eliminating himself. In addition to engaging in the time-honored and classical wars and race riots, men are more and more either becoming fags or are obliterating themselves through drugs. The female, whether she likes it or not, will eventually take complete charge, if for no other reason than that she will have to the male, for practical purposes, won't exist. Accelerating this trend is the fact that more and more males are acquiring enlightened self-interest. They're realizing more and more that the female interest is their interest, that they can live only through the female, and that the more the female is encouraged to live, to fulfill herself, to be a female and not a male, the more nearly he lives. He's coming to see that it's easier and more satisfactory to live through her than to try to become her and usurp her qualities, claim them as his own, push the female down and claim she's a male. The fag, who accepts his maleness, that is, his passivity and total sexuality, his femininity, is also best served by women being truly female, as it would then be easier for him to be male, feminine. If men were wise, they would seek to become really female, would do intensive biological research that would lead to men, by means of operations on the brain and nervous system, being able to be transformed in psyche, as well as body, into women. Whether to continue to use females for reproduction or to reproduce in the laboratory will also become academic. What will happen when every female, 12 and over, is routinely taking the pill and there are no longer any accidents? How many women will deliberately get or, if an accident, remain pregnant? No, Virginia, women don't just adore being brood mares, despite what the mass of robot, brainwashed women will say. When society consists of only the fully conscious, the answer will be none. Should a certain percentage of women be set aside by force to serve as brood mares for the species? Obviously this will not do. The answer is laboratory reproduction of babies. As for the issue of whether or not to continue to reproduce males, it doesn't follow that because the male, like disease, has always existed among us that he should continue to exist. When genetic control is possible, and it soon will be, it goes without saying that we should produce only whole, complete beings, not physical defects or deficiencies, including emotional deficiencies, such as maleness. Just as the deliberate production of blind people would be highly immoral, so would be the deliberate production of emotional cripples. Why produce even females? Why should there be future generations? What is their purpose? When aging and death are eliminated, why continue to reproduce? Why should we care what happens when we're dead? Why should we care that there is no younger generation to succeed us? Eventually the natural course of events, of social evolution, will lead to total female control of the world and, subsequently, to the cessation of the production of males and, ultimately, to the cessation of the production of females. But SCUM is impatient. SCUM is not consoled by the thought that future generations will thrive. SCUM wants to grab some thrilling living for itself. And, if a large majority of women were SCUM, they could acquire complete control of this country within a few weeks simply by withdrawing from the labor force, thereby paralyzing the entire nation. Additional measures, any one of which would be sufficient to completely disrupt the economy and everything else, would be for women to declare themselves off the money system, stop buying, just loot, and simply refuse to obey all laws they don't care to obey. The police force, National Guard, Army, Navy and Marines combined couldn't squelch a rebellion of over half the population, particularly when it's made up of people they are utterly helpless without. If all women simply left men, refused to have anything to do with any of them ever, all men, the government, and the national economy would collapse completely. Even without leaving men, women who are aware of the extent of their superiority to and power over men, could acquire complete control over everything within a few weeks, could effect the total submission of males to females. In a sane society, the male would trot along obediently after the female. The male is docile and easily led, easily subjected to the domination of any female who cares to dominate him. The male, in fact, wants desperately to be led by females, wants mama in charge, wants to abandon himself to her care. But this is not a sane society, and most women are not even dimly aware of where they're at in relation to men. The conflict, therefore, is not between females and males, but between scum dominant, secure, self-confident, nasty, violent, selfish, independent, proud, thrill-seeking, freewheeling, arrogant females, who consider themselves fit to rule the universe, who have freewheeled to the limits of this society and are ready to wheel onto something far beyond what it has to offer and nice, passive, accepting, cultivated, polite, dignified, subdued, dependent, scared, mindliness, insecure, approval-seeking daddy's girls, who can't cope with the unknown, who want to continue to wallow in the sewer that is, at least, familiar, who want to hang back with the apes, who feel secure only with Big Daddy standing by, with a big, strong man to lean on and with a fat, hairy face in the White House, who are too cowardly to face up to the hideous reality of what a man is, what daddy is, who have cast their lot with the swine, who have adapted themselves to animalism, feel superficially comfortable with it and know no other way of life, who have reduced their minds, thoughts and science to the male level, who, lacking sense, imagination and wit can have value only in a male society, who can have a place in the sun, or, rather, in the slime, only as soothers, ego boosters, relaxers and breeders, who are dismissed as inconsequence by other females, who project their deficiencies, their maleness, onto all females and see the female as a worm. But scum is too impatient to hope and wait for the brainwashing of millions of assholes. Why should the swinging females continue to plod dismally along with the dull male ones? Why should the fates of the groovy and the creepy be intertwined? Why should the active and imaginative consult the passive and dull on social policy? Why should the independent be confined to the sewer along with the dependent who need daddy to cling to? A small handful of scum can take over the country within a year by systematically fucking up the system, selectively destroying property, and murder. Scum will become members of the unwork force, the fuck-up force, they will get jobs of various kinds and unwork. For example, scum sales girls will not charge for merchandise, scum telephone operators will not charge for calls, scum office and factory workers, in addition to fucking up their work, will secretly destroy equipment. Scum will unwork at a job until fired, then get the new job to unwork at. Scum will forcibly relieve bus drivers, cab drivers and subway token sellers of their jobs and run buses and cabs and dispense free tokens to the public. Scum will destroy all useless and harmful objects, cars, store windows, great art, etc. Eventually scum will take over the airwaves radio and TV networks by forcibly relieving of their jobs all radio and TV employees who would impede scum's entry into the broadcasting studios. Scum will couple bus barge into mixed, male-female, couples, wherever they are, and bust them up. Scum will kill all men who are not in the men's auxiliary of scum. Men in the men's auxiliary are those men who are working diligently to eliminate themselves, men who, regardless of their motives, do good, men who are playing ball with scum. A few examples of the men in the men's auxiliary are, men who kill men, biological scientists who are working on constructive programs, as opposed to biological warfare, journalists, writers, editors, publishers and producers who disseminate and promote ideas that will lead to the achievement of scum's goals, faggots who, by their shimmering, flaming example, encourage other men to demand themselves and thereby make themselves relatively inoffensive, men who consistently give things away, money, things, services, men who tell it like it is, so far not one ever has, who put women straight, who reveal the truth about themselves, who give the mindless male-females correct sentences to parrot, who tell them a woman's primary goal in life should be to squash the male sex. To aid men in this endeavor, scum will conduct turd sessions, at which every male present will give a speech beginning with the sentence, "I am a turd, a lowly, abject turd," then proceed to list all the ways in which he is. His reward for so doing will be the opportunity to fraternize after the session for a whole, solid hour with the scum who will be present. Nice, clean living male women will be invited to the sessions to help clarify any doubts and misunderstandings.